Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We got work to do. As soon as I start talking, the little four-legged's going to come running in. Oh, I think she's already in here. She's like, it's time to work. Move over. Yeah, I didn't realize the door was open all the way. Okay. So that would probably be Taffy, but you never know. We might get a glimpse at Zoe. Who knows? So we got to talk about this. Yeah, that's Capricorn. We are having a full moon, June full moon in Cappy. So here it is, Capricorn, just by the color, we already feel like, okay, this is professional, this is serious, and you're right. That's Capricorn, professional, serious. It's the adult in the room. And at least when it's operating on, I don't even know if I want to say on a high level, but, when it's Saturn stepping in and letting you know what needs to be done, and it says, okay, this is the list, the responsibility, this is the work, this is the duty, right? We're doing this. We've got goals, we've got these projections, and it's all about the long term. It builds for the long term. That's big time Capricorn energy. And on this chart, where am I at here? Okay, you can see it. On this chart, you can see we've got the date, June 21st. So this is the day after the summer solstice. And for those of you who live in the southern hemisphere, well, I guess that's your winter solstice. It's so wild. Like my brain can't even comprehend that. Which means like in December when we have our winter solstice, that's when you're having your summer solstice. And my brain is like, yeah, how do you guys do it? It just seems so wild. But again, if your weather is different, then it maybe doesn't seem wild, especially if you're not into traditional religions. At least in my mind anyway, because, well, I was brought up Roman Catholic, Roman Catholic, whatever it's being called these days. So June 21st is the full moon. And if it's in Capricorn, we know that Saturn is the ruler of this full moon, which is why we've got Saturn sitting here and showing up and showing off the big, serious, bold colors. Yeah. So let's go see the degrees and the dates before I get on talking too much. Yeah, Capricorn full moon, and there it is. That's how you know the moon. It's at 1 degrees and 7 minutes. You see that? Yeah. Capricorn full moon, 1 degrees and 7 minutes. At the opposite end, we got the sun. And if you know your astrology or even just a little bit of it, what's at the opposite of Capricorn? What are the two signs that run on that same line of energy? Capricorn and Cancer, right? So it's really kind of a fascinating. Every year we have this, right? Every year we have full moons. Every month we have full moons. So once a year, you're going to get this Capricorn full moon. And basically, what's wild about it for me is you have Saturn as the ruler of the full moon, but the moon's in Saturn. And the moon rules Cancer. It rules the opposition of this full moon. So it's always interesting to me at this particular full moon. I know a lot of people would say, well, gee, no shit. Whenever there's a full moon, you're going to have the moon in a sign, and at the opposite is always going to be the sun. Well, if the moon is in Sag, then that means to get the full moon, the sun has to be in Gemini. And you're right. Absolutely. But to me, this one always feels bigger. It always seems more important. It always seems more significant. And I don't mean like, maybe important and significant aren't the right words, But it seems as though sometimes these ones in the Cancer and Capricorn possibly can be more obvious, more easier to track. You know how sometimes life just goes on and you're working and kids and family and work and whatever, and you just, yeah, you don't notice it. And then there's those other times where you're just like, what the hell is that? What's going on? And someone's like, oh, it's a full moon. And you're like, oh, well, shit, no wonder, right? Or people will be like, oh, there's something in the water, there's something in the air, right? So there's always like these certain times where things seem to stand out and be a little bit more obvious. And full moon energy is already usually obvious, but the moon in Capricorn, Capricorn can be restrictive. It can be, because it sets up boundaries. It's got rules and restrictions, and it's got this very rigid type of plan because the plan that it sets up, the goals, the ambitions, it's got all these, we have to hit all these points. We have to hit all these targets. Think of the ladder that you're climbing. I used to use this example all the time, but this is that Capricorn energy. It's the goat. It's the goat. So if we think the goat, we're thinking the boss, the CEO, right? Right. So it's a full moon. And when I very first looked at this chart, I didn't want to dive too deep into it. But if I back it up and you look at it, yeah, I just have one simple mystic rectangle and a couple of other lines in there. You see the rectangle, right? It's called the mystic rectangle because there's this connection of trine energy. These lines are 120 degrees away from each other. So they're trines. You see blue Pisces and Cancer energy blue. So this is water and this is water. So there's a trine, a water trine. And then there's this other trine at the other end, and it's in earth. So this mystic rectangle is made up of earth and water. And remember, like with earth and water, we can usually kind of make something out of earth and water. So full moon time is normally like it's an end of something. Something's ending. There's a closure of a cycle. There's a completion. And when I first saw this chart, I heard real clearly this is the beginning of the end. But yet there's a beginning. I know that might seem strange, but it's really the focus around Capricorn energy because Capricorn is all about what are we building? And because Saturn rules this, we already know Saturn is quite professional and builds for the long term. And so it's connected to corporations and business and government. Yeah, when we think Cappy energy, that's why it's the boss and the CEO. Well, especially for the US, oh my God, the boss, the CEO, and Wall Street and the people with the money, we see all too clearly how the money has a lot to do with regulations and bills that get passed, that get turned into laws. And at some point, we're like, wait a minute, what's going on here, right? Who the hell is actually running the show? So this moon cycle, full moon in Cappy, there is an end to some sort of a cycle, some sort of regulation, some sort of structure, something in the government, someone in the government. There's history with the moon, something about the past because that's the moon. So it can talk about your home and your family. It can talk about mom, because it's moon energy. And we think of the homes literally like the housing market. And we think of government, but businesses, because in the States, and I'm only speaking about the States because I don't have enough knowledge to speak about wherever it is that you are watching from, right? So please let me know, like the information I'm sharing as far as the keywords of the planets and how they play out for wherever it is that you live. We would love to hear about it. At least I know I would, especially because I love learning. And if I don't live where you're at, I can't learn about it other than to hear some of your thoughts and experiences of what you're going through there. So government and business and that whole you wash my hand, I wash your type of shit, right? I'm, of course, idealistically like, oh, good God, could this be the end of that? Well, that would be great, right? I think that's something that doesn't happen within one event. Those are long systemic things. And that is Capricorn energy, long systemic stuff, because it's all about time. Saturn rules time. Remember, Saturn rules Capricorn. So we've got the moon in Capricorn, Saturn being the ruler. We have to ask ourselves, what is ending? What is the closure to? What cycle is over with? And when I see businesses and then I see the moon and I think homes and family and housing and corporations gobbling up homes and gobbling up land. And then we've got a shortage of houses, right? So we don't have enough homes here. So that combination has created a super, I don't want to say a super cycle for the housing market, but real estate in general and the values, and maybe commercial real estate would frown down at this and be like, oh no, but this could be commercial real estate because we're talking business and homes, or business and real estate, business and land, something with the past because it's the moon. Okay. And it's an ending and a closure. Now, to go a little bit deeper into this, I take this look and I ask, well, it's Saturn. So in the chart, I got to look, well, where is the planet Saturn in this chart? That matters. Well, guess what? Not that you don't know this already, but look where Saturn is. That's Saturn right there. It's right next to Nessa. They're both at 19 degrees. Nessa is retrograding. Remember, Nessa's kind of got like that revenge vibration to it. It's the centaur. Nessa was a friend of a common friend between Hercules, and Hercules made a mistake, had just accomplished one of his labors, and it was the one with the mares, right? And he was capturing all the horses, all the mares, all the wild mares that were just running wild, and the villagers were all freaking out. And anyway, Hercules came in and got them all and was like boasting, sort of, right? Got real proud and started partying, actually. Pisces, interesting, the wine, started drinking. But before all that happened, Hercules said he handed the mares, the reins off to Abderus, if that's the way you say his name, or Abderus. I'm not sure, or Abderus, whatever, right? I'm trying to. So he handed the reins off, and Abderus was not as strong as Hercules. Abderus, Hercules basically handed a duty and a responsibility that was his, that was created specifically, a challenge specifically that he had to pass. It was his test. Hold on. This little girl, as soon as I start talking, she is in here and she is on my leg. Taffy, if you want to come on up, but you cannot rub that leg. Oh my God. This is becoming a thing with her. So Saturn now, and Abderus and Hercules and Nessa. What the hell does Nessa have to do with this? Well, Nessus, Nessus, was also part of this group, right? And Nessus and Hercules weren't necessarily best buds, but Hercules and Abderus were really good friends. And do you hear her digging at the chair? Do you hear her starting her stuff? She's like going to have to get me to clap my hands to kind of stop her from doing her thing. So when Hercules handed the reins off to Abderus, the mares were so strong. There was tons of them. They basically trampled him to death. So Nessus, ever since that day, Nessus has been upset and has been out to seek revenge on Hercules because Nessus felt like, what the hell? All because you were so proud of yourself and what you had accomplished. You handed the reins off to Abderus. You should have freaking known better. You did the job, but you should have known better. So Abderus was angry, and Abderus is out to set for revenge on Hercules. So that tells us who Nessus is. Now, I've only been tracking Nessus for maybe about a year now, and I've been waiting to see Nessus show up in a way where I can actually say that was Nessus, all right. So we'll see at this full moon if something happens. By the way, I don't know if I said the date. I did say happy summer solstice on the 20th, the full moon on the 21st, 8:07 p.m. It's on a Friday. I'm in the States. I already said that, Central Daylight Time. And basically, when we have a full moon, there's like a heightened of emotions, right? So again, we are checking out Saturn because Saturn is the ruler of the full moon. Well, Saturn being in Pisces means public figures, but it's not limited to public figures, but it is people names that we're likely going to, like household names or names that are in the news. And it doesn't have to just be like politicians, although it can be, but it can be anybody who's a performer. Well, absolutely, politicians fit that bill. But we think of heads of state, even people who have some power, because we're talking a full moon in Capricorn. And these are people who are in the government and who are usually the boss energy and CEOs, right? So this Saturn energy, and now we know where Saturn is, we can better understand what kind of energy is being fueled and communicated or deposited into the Capricorn energy. Because whenever Saturn, your Capricorn energy in your chart, by the way, which is important, look for the 1 degrees and 7 minutes. That's where the full moon's going to happen. That's where your ending and the closure of a cycle is going to occur, some duty and responsibility. And unfortunately, for some people, not everybody, for some people, this might be a job. It could be a job. Now, again, it's not for everybody, right? It can simply be a duty and a responsibility. It could be a long-term goal and ambition that you had, something you had been working on, and maybe you've completed it, because a full moon represents a completion. It's not just like, something just gets all of a sudden swiped and taken away from you. Not always, right? I mean, obviously, depending upon someone's chart, crazy things can be set up in different ways. And then when that happens, we're like, oh shit. But that's different. That's extreme. Okay. That's extreme. This Saturn, because it's in Pisces, we can think about foreign lands, foreign countries, foreign languages. We can think about wherever we live in the world. Holy shit, look what's happening over there. Because in our world right now at this time, no matter where the hell you live, we're all like, holy shit, look what's going on over there, right? We're all pointing fingers at the other one. We're like, God, it's crazy over there. What's happening, So we're all in it. We're all in this stuff. And Pisces energy all by itself, Pisces energy all by itself can represent an ending and a closure to something. That's Pisces energy. It goes deep and it goes hidden and it's psychological. Some say it's karmic energy. Some say it's from other lifetimes. Psychological, deep, the behind the scenes energy, behind closed door energy, on the other side of the world energy, foreign lands, right? So with those people that are in charge, possibly public figures, possibly household names, can be people who are performers. So this can have to do with the theater and music and movies and the silver screen, musicians, hospitals and doctors, because they're institutions of society. Society has whatever those institutions are. Some people say prisons, that can be part of it. A place where you feel isolated. So we can think churches and places where I was going to say monasteries, places where of isolation, places where we feel secluded and possibly alone. Some people, yeah, depending upon who you are, that might be a feeling you like. Think about it. When you go to a movie or when you're watching a movie, you immerse yourself to a degree. You're immersing yourself there. So in a sense, it's almost like you change realities with Pisces energy. The lines of realities can even become blurred with Pisces energy. Okay. Because it's about confusion. But Saturn has been here sobering up and moving away some of the clouds of confusion. Saturn is there to kind of draw back the curtain. In the Wizard of Oz, it kind of pulls back the curtain, like, look what's really been going on. Because Saturn is very sobering energy, where Pisces is the exact opposite. So Saturn, with the rules and the restrictions, it could get softened. The rules and restrictions may soften because it's in Pisces. So it can go to both extremes. There can be where the curtains have been pulled back, and then all of a sudden, maybe some new rules. But I got to tell you, speaking just from the US and all the craziness we've been going through, oh my God, the old guard, the old rules, the old structure and order of the way, especially within our houses of government, right? In For our representatives and our senators, It's like it's insane. If you've been watching any news, it's like it's become entertainment. Some call it a circus, for sure. It's entertainment because that's, like, probably the kindest word we could give it, but it's just been kinda like a shit show. It's kinda like a shit show, and Saturn gets weakened in Pisces, and so the decorum, the professionalism, the ethics kinda gets blurred, right? It kinda gets blurred. So, the interesting thing here then is that means that this is with this Saturn. That's with this Saturn. But either way, the moon energy is still prevalent. So is it an end to the nonsense? Is there going to be some more seriousness injected finally? Is it going to be a complete end to the old way and the way things were as far as rules and structure and order, where there'll be new rules? Well, what I will say is this is the beginning of the end because of the energy overall. Cancer energy, the sun is up there. We got to talk about the opposition. The sun is up there at 1 degrees. You got Venus and Mercury together, strong feminine energy together in Cancer. So homes, the housing market, houses in general, nurturing, feelings, family, history and culture, ethnicity, your tribe, where my people are from. And sometimes the tribe that we resonate with the most, they're not even connected. Like we're not even related by blood. That's a thing, right? So feminine energy, really strong, really, really strong. And masculine energy, if Cancer energy is feminine, then masculine energy is here. Masculine energy is here. And the moon brings that closure to it. The moon brings a closure. Now, the old guard would be the patriarchal type of society, right? That would be how it's been here. It's been this way in the US. It's been this way in the US, right? So, a society, a system of rules, a government of rules that are truly fair and representative of the people would be definitely closer to the matriarchal society, which is a balance between the masculine and the feminine energies. It's not about you rule over me. And my God, if we're not in a time of a war on women right now in the States, I don't know when the hell, like it's insane. At the end of the day, it can also be the end again of somebody who was in power, somebody who is in power. Again, this is a process. It's not about this happens on this day, right? Depending upon someone's chart, there can be more extreme things that create when all of a sudden something happens like spot on that day. But knowing the degrees help. And again, it's 1 degrees and 7 minutes in Capricorn, 1 degrees and 7 minutes in Cancer. There's a 2-degree orb before and after. So you're looking at 29 degrees in Sagittarius, 0 degrees in Capricorn, all the way to 2 degrees, 1, 2, we'll say 3 degrees in Capricorn. So this, in a sense, if I even take that route and say 2 degrees backwards, the galactic center is there at 27. You see that? Yeah. We got the galactic center at 27 degrees in Sagittarius. You're right. It's out of sign. It's not in the same sign. It's out of sign, but that's okay. That's a real thing. It does. When you have things that are so close, the fact that they're in a different sign, it just adds to the complexity of the meaning. Well, what happens when we add Sagittarius energy into this fold? Holy shit. Now it brings Jupiter into it. Frickin' Jupiter again. We've been talking about Jupiter for a while now. April, May, June, all strong Jupiter stuff. Judges, rulings, courtrooms, the judicial system, whole lot of hot stuff going on, right? So there's an end of something. There's an end of some CEO, some boss, and it couldn't, if it's not a person, it can be a rule of some sort, okay? An end to something that previously existed. And that degree is extreme because it's right near the 0 degree mark. And having Jupiter in here in Sagittarius folds in not only the justices and rulings, but it folds in religion. It folds in spirituality. Foreigners, foreign lands, foreign languages, travel, air travel, going on a long jury journey, and jury, by the way, right? But beliefs. Here in the US, that's been a big deal. The courtroom cases that have been going on, it's to put aside your beliefs and go by what the rule of law is, right? And that's what they're asked. You have to make a choice based on what the law is that we have established is law within our society. And when you have Saggy part of this, or at least near this, I would love to see the end of religion within the government. The wording is that they're supposed to be separate, that it's not supposed to be together, right? But it's kind of been a joke, right? It's kind of been a joke. There's always this "in God we trust." So religion's always kind of mentioned there to a degree in the United States. But now the extreme of religion being part and involved in government and in rules, it's a real problem now. It's a real problem. And we even have justices, Supreme Court justices in the United States who, I don't want to fold in religion with them specifically, but it seems as though some of them and their beliefs, whatever they are, they kind of absolutely, I should say, contradict what the rule is, what the actual rules are. So there's a strong contrarian energy, which we went through, going, the beginning of June, because Jupiter entered Gemini. Yeah. So Sagittarius energy, Jupiter energy in this fold also gives us another look at somebody who's in the spotlight, somebody who's normally in the spotlight, someone who can speak, someone who's possibly a teacher, possibly a person of the cloth, even could be, because the galactic center is at 27. The galactic center is quite powerful. It's quite powerful. So this strong need, right? The strong need, the women and the rules and the restrictions on women or on homes, something here, right? Something here. And hopefully whatever this something is, there will be a benefit for we the people, as opposed to a benefit for well, as they say, our betters, right? Those who are above us, those who are supposed to represent us instead of ruling us, which is basically kind of what they're trying to sell to the public and what they've been trying to sell to the public, especially in the year 2024, 2023, 2024. There's been some really extreme, super extreme kind of conversations going on, and people aligning with something that is so totally against their own best interests and not realizing it. The wool being pulled completely over their eyes, the rose-colored glasses on, and it makes you wonder, holy crap. Now, what I want to point out before I end is the trine. The trine to this full moon, I'm going to do this in purple now, is to Regulus in Virgo. There is a trine to this ending, this closure, this cycle, this Capricorn, this some sort of a goal that we had. There's an ending to it. Regulus is trining this full moon. Regulus is assisting this ending and the closure of this cycle. Regulus is in Virgo, which is the details, which is the data, which is the receipts. But Regulus is also, I should say, very powerful. But in Virgo, it's more about thinking holistically, which means I'm looking at the total picture. I'm thinking short term. I'm thinking midterm. I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking health. I'm thinking the essentials, what's good for the planet, what's good for my body, what's good, right? The health and the future of my furry friends and the animals. Absolutely, because it's Virgo. It's domestic energy. It's the food. It's the gardener. Not so much the farmer or commercial farming, but it's more like I'm the harvester. These are the servants, Virgo energy, right? This is the silent worker, I call them, the servants. They should be seen and not heard type of thing. I know people say that, or used to say that about children, but it also applies to our service industry. Think of all the behind the scenes people that the work that they do to get you whatever it is, your clothing cleaned and ironed, your house clean, they're the ones that are just there to in the kitchen preparing, and this is obviously not the way I live, but for some folks, yeah. Um, it's for your barista, it's for the people that help you when you're sick, your nurses. I got a cat sitting right behind me. Okay. Oh, it's Fuzzy Butt. Well, they're both Fuzzy Butt. Hold on, let's get the Fuzz Butt up here. Let's get her up here since she's here. So we're back, and yep, there's Taffy. So the Regulus energy, I need my arm. When we see how it assists this ending, remember, when you have a trine, it makes something easily happen. So whatever this ending is, Regulus is helping the ending occur. I'm really praying it has something to do with the high real estate or with the high prices within the housing market. Because if you look closely, we have this buy. This is a lot, an Arabic lot. And that specific Arabic lot, when I read it, it's called the part of buying and selling. That's all it says. That's all it says. The part of buying and selling. And that's kind of fascinating because we started talking about how business and government easily buys senators, buys our representatives, can buy the politicians, right? And so there's this thing here where this Arabic lot, right? And that Arabic lot is about the purchase of something. And it's conjunct Regulus. It's conjunct Regulus. So in this chart, I also have marked off the vertex point and the anti-vertex point. And I think that's pretty important because the vertex point is conjunct Saturn. The vertex point is considered when a door opens type of thing, like a door opens and a door closes. It's an opportunity, an event, or a person even. Something new comes into your life. Okay. It kind of like is that doorway though, because at the opposite point is the anti-vertex at 17 degrees in Virgo. Virgo. Again, this does concern me for people who, like possibly layoffs happening with jobs because Virgo is jobs. Yeah. And so the vertex is at 17 here. The vertex is at 17, and that's kind of like when a door closes. Again, remember the vertex point in anti-vertex in Virgo and the vertex in Pisces. Pisces. So an event or a person, something occurs here. This is at the exact time of this full moon. Pisces and Virgo energy are prominent here. Okay. So an event or a person coming in and going out. At both ends, we've got something. And again, it can be jobs. It can be the boss at your job, maybe your task and your routine at your job, maybe your department. Maybe it's just something as simple as, okay, we finished that project. We're starting a new one on a small level for folks. This cat always sits right where I have to put my elbow. I mean, I have to have my hands on the keyboard to move this thing around. And she always wants to put her butt right in that spot. So that trine energy is part of that mystic rectangle that I started pointing out in the beginning. And that mystic rectangle, it goes to the 1 degrees of Capricorn, the 1 degrees of part of fortune in Pisces, right? So it's really young energy at that 1 degree. Kind of think in your mind, think Aries. So maybe war, maybe the war energy and the rules of war, right? And restrictions and something ending. Think Aries with that 1 degrees. Okay. So the impulsivity, starting things, the constant starting of something, leading in some way. That's Aries energy. It likes to be the leader, can be feisty and mad and angry. And hopefully for us in the States, we'll be done with fighting amongst each other. God, wouldn't that be great? At the other part, we've got 1 degree, the sun in Cancer. The sun is the authority figure. It's with home and family and mom. So we've got the father and the son together in the moon energy. So a beginning for sure of some sort, even though there's a closure. Because whenever you mix the moon and sun energy together, you get a new moon. Right. Which is why the Cancer new moon for me is always very interesting. Very interesting. Because you're mixing the power, the potency of the energy of the moon, of emotions, with the sun and my willpower. And I'm going to create something. So 1 degree sign of Cancer, Venus and Mercury, the siblings together in Cancer energy, feelings and emotions. Okay. Family and homes and housing, the ancestry. And then the last part is that Regulus and Virgo, which I've already talked about. So this full moon in Capricorn, June 21st, is the day after the solstice, and the anti-vertex and vertex are in Pisces and Virgo. So healthcare, possibly nurses, possibly hospitals and doctors involved in this in some way, possibly public figures, I'm thinking for sure, um, possibly something with businesses and government and corporations, and hopefully a release of some of the shenanigans and the nonsense that goes on, and how they believe that we're so dumb as the public and that we don't pay attention to what they're doing. We're only paying attention, on their social sites, but that we don't pay attention close enough to the rules and the regulations. We're not educated enough. And so therefore, yeah, they can pretty much say what they want and we believe it. And that, and I have to be honest with you, it's not true for everybody, but for a lot of people, this has been true because so-and-so posted it. That means it's true. And we have to sober up. We ourselves, especially here in the frickin' States with Pisces in our third house, we have to sober up and we have to pay attention, unfortunately, but you do got to pay attention to the politics. And if you don't have the stomach for it, do go to Beau of the Fifth Column. He covers a lot of the events. You can still do due diligence by going to other sites, but Beau will give you a balanced, honest perspective, at least the most honest I've seen. I think the most honest we have a look at, the most objective perspective of what's going on, not only here in the States, but he's global. He's global. He pays attention. He's huge on foreign policy, huge. And so that will help us to become a wiser, more informed voter. Big deal here for the US. Big deal. There's a lot going on with Jupiter. And yes, because it's in the housing market, I'm going to have some additional Jupiter videos, Jupiter and Gemini, especially with Aldebaran. If you haven't seen them, I'll attach them below. If I forgot and you want to watch them, just comment that to me so I can get the link to you so you don't have to search for it. I would hate for you to have to search for it. Taffy says, what are we doing? It's 5:30 and I need to feed the belly. Say, I need to feed the belly. Again, huh? She's been waiting. All right, take care. Thanks for watching. And remember, I always, always, always appreciate your time. Bye-bye. Woo-hoo. Oh, God bless you, Taffy. God bless you. You got your tail in my face. Come on. Come on. Let's turn it around. Oh, let's turn it around. Good girl. You're so good. You are so good. How did you get so good? How did you get so good? How did you get so good? Huh? How did you get so good? All right. We got to get this off. Oh, Lord. Let me get this.